All right, greetings. Well, I'm so excited to see you here. We're going to talk about brilliance knowledge transfer. If you don't know yet what I'm talking about, you will in a minute. But essentially, it's about how to succeed in the age of artificial intelligence, because the latest research shows that especially knowledge driven industries are going to be impacted hugely. So, you can figure out that you can expect that about more than one third of the tasks that are done in your company right now could very well be automated. And, how do you deal with that? So I've put together a few things for you here, and let's go. So, why do you care? Knowledge management is about managing your most valuable asset, which, in the case of knowledge driven industries, like engineering, architecture, science, finance, so many industries, is your expertise, your experience, your wisdom. I call that brilliance for short. Much of that brilliance is in the heads of people, your head, the heads of your team members. Now, artificial intelligence will automate more than 25% on average of all tasks in most knowledge driven fields. Um, So here are some of them: office admin, legal. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. All right. You can see this here. Okay. So I'm a chemist by training. So look, life science, physical science, social science. Then you have architecture and engineering. These are all industries that are heavily knowledge driven and therefore are most subject to change in the age of artificial intelligence. And there's good bits to it, and there are bits that can cause concern, because if we don't stay on the ball, if we miss out, we get left behind, we could possibly join the dinosaurs, as I say. So this is all about preventing that. Now, Brilliance Mining is a revolutionary method I've created for knowledge transfer, and it's a game changer. So we're going to talk about, how can you use that as a way to distinguish yourself? Who does well in our new AI-driven world and who does not? Because AI can work with extracted knowledge, meaning knowledge that we pulled out of someone's brain, but it cannot read your mind. So once it's extracted, there's a lot of things you can do with AI, but before then, you cannot. So also, of course, the information needs to be pre-processed to be useful, and context matters, and that's something that AI, as we will see here in a minute, is not strong at. So this is the summary. Let's move on. Really, this is the first point that I would like to make to you, which is that there's really two categories of knowledge to manage and transfer. The first one is conscious knowledge. You know that you have it. You can teach it, provided that you have the time and that you're willing. But then there's also unconscious knowledge. And you do have it, you use it automatically, but you're not aware of it. And therefore, you can't teach it. So the only time that you can teach it is if there's a situation that happens to come up, that happens to trigger the emergence of that knowledge that normally lives in that subconscious or subconscious or unconscious realm. And that often happens at the interface of disciplines. So that unconscious knowledge or unconscious competence. So the reason I'm showing a marble here with these different colors is to show that interface. Let's say, for example, if you're an innovative software company and you're working in a particular field, you're creating an innovative product, but it's used in a particular very specialized area. So for example, let's say you're making an editor that is able to manage to edit really large documents that have, structure that really has to be maintained. Say, let's say laws. Those are legislative. I can't even say it, right? Legislative documents. So by the fact that It's a big word like that. That already means this is a discipline in its own right. And when you hire software developers into such a company, then they come with software development skills, but they don't come with any knowledge about legislative drafting, which is the process, that's your end user that uses that software. So anyway, that's just one example. And there's many. Let's say, for example, I worked on landmine detectors before. Well, we have the interface between physics and chemistry and hardware and landmine detection. And then you need to know something about, uh, where you might be doing such landmine detection at. For example, we went to Bosnia. So that's what I'm saying. There's unconscious knowledge that you're not going to find in any textbook, and no AI chat GPT, 3.5 or 4 is going to know this. It's in your mind. And what I'm going to say is there's an opportunity here, a huge opportunity here. And there's also a trap here, and you want to be on the right side of that, obviously. So there is a report that recently came out by Goldman Sachs, and they predict that 300 million jobs will be lost or degraded by artificial intelligence. And this year is Exhibit 5 out of that report. And you see that 25%, 1/4 of current work tasks could be automated by AI in the US and Europe. Okay. But then let's read what industries are listed here, because this is just the average of all industries. And you see that the more knowledge driven it gets, the more the industry is impacted. So, for example, you have architecture and engineering. 37% of all tasks are predicted to be automated. Wow. Life science, physical science, social science, business, finance operations, management, sales. What else do we have here? Sales, for example. So lots and lots of different areas. All right. Now, what does this mean? Well, we have some idea of what AI can do, but let's talk about what it cannot do, at least not currently. It can't read your mind. I sort of doubt that it ever will be able to. And it can also not observe how what is the level of success that a learner has when, let's say, AI gives it some information. So it can't evaluate how much of the information that I gave to the learner how is it landing? What's missing? What's confusing? Is it too much? Is it too little? And it also doesn't know how to apply human emotion, creativity, or ethics to decisions and solutions. That's still a human thing. It cannot create truly original ideas. It can, of course, put fragments of knowledge together and make it appear reasonably new, but truly original ideas it cannot create. It also cannot evaluate information in context of something that it's not trained in. Okay, so what is brilliance? I mentioned earlier, let the cat out of the bag a little bit. It's expertise, experience, and knowledge and wisdom, even, that exists in its unique combination only in your brain. And of course, your teammates have the same thing going on as well. So they have unique knowledge in their brains. All right. So this is what makes you unique as far as knowledge is concerned. And because there's two types of knowledge, there's the conscious knowledge and the unconscious knowledge. You can see that especially the unconscious knowledge, we talked already about how that's hard to teach and pass on. And I'm gonna make that connection to AI in just a second. All right, so Brilliance Mining starts with mapping. It actually should say mapping here. And there's 3 questions. What is that unique knowledge? Why does it matter? And who is it for? So you understand the purpose. What would be the purpose of excavating that out of someone's brain, let's say yours? And then once that's determined, and that's probably a bunch of areas, you pick one, the one that's most important, maybe the one that's easiest to start with, and then you extract that knowledge. And that's what we teach and also assist people with, is the both the mapping, the extraction, and the replication. So It's capturing that brilliance and to do it in a fast and fun way so you can do it without getting bogged down. And a lot of times we can do it in real time. And then the replication that's where you make your money with this. This is where, really you get the competitive advantage there. And so we'll talk more about that in a second. But essentially, for example, if you have a secret sauce in your mind, that is something that can help you stand out. The stuff that's in the public domain, anybody can get access to now faster than ever using AI tools. But the stuff that's unique to you, your brilliance, if you put that into play powerfully, you can stand out. And then, of course, you can also use AI tools to actually draw on that unique knowledge more quickly. All right. So Brilliance Mining is the name for knowledge transfer, a revolutionary knowledge transfer method that allows you to get access not only to the conscious knowledge in your brain, but also the unconscious part of your brain. And when we're now putting that together with AI, here's what happens. Well, first I should say that Brilliance Mining is, or your unique knowledge is important for all three stages that a business goes through. At the start, you want to start strong, you need clarity, you need strategy, and you need to become aware of how your brilliance is best put into play. Then as you're scaling up, you want to create leverage. You have to go beyond yourself and beyond a small team. And so knowledge transfer becomes very important because you need systems that train those people and help them do what you used to do by yourself and make that happen without costly mistakes and also without you losing your work-life balance or losing your innovative edge. Because if you're so busy managing all the things that you do all the time and teaching people, spoon feeding them, then you don't have any time left. And that doesn't only cost you your work-life balance, but also it leads to you not having the time to keep at the forefront of things. For example, at the forefront of making yourself knowledgeable about all these things that are coming out with AI tools. And that can be detrimental now more so than ever. All right, then sustaining is the last stage of a business where we've started it, we've grown it, and now it's really about making sure it sticks around in the long run. So that includes succession planning for key people, including yourself, because at some point you're going to lean out. And so it gives you options. And by the way, 85% of businesses can't be sold. They're either shut down they're shut down simply when an owner retires. All right. So now, let's say we talked about how in your mind you have conscious and unconscious knowledge that you can't find in any textbook in its unique combination. So that's your brilliance, that's in your mind here. Now, let's say you want to feed that information into some AI tools so that you can use it powerfully. So maybe your employees can query a whole boatload of information that's proprietary to your business, but they can access it and query it. Now, that's really cool. Now, when you onboard somebody, you probably wouldn't just sit them in front of a computer and say, here, here's all our knowledge. Just type away and ask questions. You would give them a systematic introduction. And then that's onboarding basically, and then do some systematic training. But then later on it would be great if you had a tool that they could query with where they want to learn more and build up upon that foundation that you set initially. All right, but the thing is that the AI tools, this information has to get out of your head into the AI tool. How does that actually happen? Well, Brilliance Mining is really a key for that, and it's a game changer for this. It literally unlocks the information that currently is trapped in your mind. So when it first is pulled out And we'll talk a little bit about how, but there's another opportunity you have to learn more about how. But basically, we get knowledge bits out of your brain, let's say, and I'm going to call them brilliance nuggets. Now, when they first come out, they're a little bit raw because you pull out one here and another one here and another one here, and it's not so clear, how do they need to be sequenced, and how do you make sure that someone far less experienced than you would actually be able to make sense out of that. So then the next step in Brilliance Mining after the mapping and extraction is the replication. So we make sure these nuggets now are transferable for onboarding, training, educational marketing, even all kinds of purposes. And succession planning is also one of them, as we mentioned. So this is now where you become essentially a teacher, and you have to think about, okay, well, I've got these nuggets now. How do I break them down? How do I simplify them? How do I sequence them, et cetera, in order for this information to make sense, again, to someone who doesn't already know all the things you know. Now, you can see that that takes some degree of fresh eyes, and some testing things. We'll get into that in just a moment. But once you have these nuggets out of your brain and they're sort of logically sequenced to some extent, now AI can start to help with that. But now you can feed them into AI tools. So, for example, I have actually on my website a bot that is based on ChatGPT that can answer questions based on all the information that I have on my website. Now, I spent actually a whole year writing daily articles. Yeah, imagine that. So I have a book coming out on that. It's called 365 Brilliance Nuggets. Anyway, it pulls that information from the website, from these articles, and answers questions. Is it perfect? Not completely perfect. Is it very good? Yes. And we're going to see even more of that. So, for example, there's Chat PDF. Chat PDF is a Chrome extension, and I think it's a Chrome extension. Anyway, it's called, go to chatpdf.com, and you can actually load in a PDF of all kinds of information, and then it will say, well, it looks like this document is about blah, 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 XYZ thing, and here's some questions you could ask it. It even, suggests questions you could ask, and then, of course, you could ask more questions. You can even also ask it to summarize the PDF, etc., etc. So now imagine what's possible with this. But again, if you didn't have that PDF, if that information was in your mind, well, Chat GPT or Chat PDF, none of those tools can help you. But this graph, as fancy as it may be, is not complete yet. There's a critical thing still missing, and that is the feedback loops. You see, AI cannot really test and observe the way that you can. Let's say if you're onboarding new people with the Brilliance Nuggets that you made transferable here. So let's say you pulled out this knowledge, you sequenced it, and of course, this is what we do and this is what we teach both. Then, and maybe you put it into a learning management system, and then, as quickly as possible, this is, by the way, what we say, make sure that you train people as quickly as possible. You test your system as quickly as possible. Don't wait till it's quote unquote perfect, but you put it in use as quickly as possible. And in fact, a client I worked with fairly recently, within 6 weeks, we had his whole secret sauce documented. And while it was not yet in videos and it was not yet, looking all fancy, but it was already functional and reasonably good to look at, he already put it to use, and he already recruited and onboarded 2 new people with that. And that also means that now you can get feedback. You can say, these 2 new people, how did they react to this information? And as they put it into practice, how well are they doing? Are they missing some things? Are they confusing some things? Is it maybe trained at a level too high or too low? those are things that you can observe and you need to, but AI can't do that for you. And then the same thing applies when, let's say, we take these nuggets now and we put them into AI tools. Then again, there's a feedback loop, and what this often leads to is right back to your brain or the brains of your team and says, wait, there's another nugget that we didn't extract that we need to. And also, when you have these systems, let's say you have onboarding and training systems, you have AI based training systems that result, from this previous work, from the brilliance mining that we're talking about here, that I lost my thread now. So you do that, you go back to extracting more, and that's what closes the loop here, basically. So, but this is the way that you can make the best use of two things: your unique knowledge, that's your brilliance, that helps you stand out, and the AI tools, which means that now you can put your secret, unique sauce into play using the power of AI tools where appropriate and powered by humans where appropriate. It's pretty cool. All right, so in conclusion, I wanted to just summarize. AI tools are increasingly helpful, of course, in knowledge management and transfer, but they have limitations. They can't read your mind. They can't do that feedback loop very, very effectively because they can't really observe what the humans are doing. What I was going to say earlier is that, as you learn more, let's say you learn something new that wasn't in your brain before, you capture that as well, and you have now a place to put it, put it into your training system, put it into your AI tool based training. All right, so AI also lacks human emotion, creativity, ethics, doesn't know too much about that, and that's needed for many decisions and solutions. So you want to use AI tools where appropriate and free up the time and redirect that time for innovation in the things that AI cannot do. AI can't create truly original ideas. It's not good at being an innovator, but it is great at interacting with you as you're contemplating innovative ideas. All right. So it can't evaluate information in context of something it's not trained in. All right. What happens if you don't do brilliance mining as an effective knowledge transfer? What if you transfer it, you either don't do it or you just do it person to person, or you basically just do the conscious parts and not the unconscious competence? Well, then much of your biggest asset is trapped in the minds of your people and your mind. And it's very tough to start, scale, and sustain your business. And it's much, much harder to take advantage of AI. Now, think about what that means. If it's much harder for you to take advantage of AI, but one of your competitors is successful at doing it, then that is a big difference. The reason being that the impact of AI on your industry is probably more than 1/3 of all tasks. Now, think about that. So, in order to stay competitive as your industry automates, that's really vital. So, I think brilliance mining as an effective and, in fact, revolutionary method for knowledge transfer is important because you can excel at accessing and protecting your unique knowledge, even that unconscious competence. So it's a game changer as AI transforms knowledge driven industries. It enables you to feed your unique knowledge into AI tools, stay competitive, and also free up time for innovation. So, lastly, I want to give you 5 quick tips for how you can actually go about putting your knowledge that you have in your brain into something that you can use, a system, what I call a brilliance system. So the first one is you could make an outline of something that you want to train. And you start with just talking about this. So basically, you create an outline and you chunk it down into a sequence of videos. Just imagine yourself doing quick videos, 3 minutes or so, and chunk down the topic into little steps. Now, it would be good to get some feedback beforehand, before you do the recording, on the sequence of these videos and get some fresh eyes on, does this make sense or is there something missing? Most of the time, the introduction is too brief and assumes too much when an expert goes about doing this. But so that's one. The second one is you can create slides. And again, it's not PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint type of training. But again, imagine yourself putting together a course that consists of little short lessons. And when I say short, I mean typically 3 minutes, maybe 5 if it's a pretty technical thing. Maybe you people would be tolerant of 10 minutes, but that's probably it at this point. 10 minutes, not like the days of hour-long things are over. All right, so the next one is articles, from brain to articles. The next one is you simply observe and write down what you're doing. You say, wait a minute, there was a brilliance nugget that was just triggered by something that I did. Let's write that down. And the fifth method is that you strap on something like a GoPro camera onto your head and you actually record yourself doing something. For example, a client of mine has a bathtub refinishing company. So this doesn't seem as high tech, but there's a lot of knowledge involved in this. So he wanted to create some training for quality control. And so I asked him whether he would be willing to put on a GoPro camera. He said, sure. And we figured out how many different quality control scenarios they have. There were 6. And I said, well, can you record yourself doing them and commenting on it as if there was somebody there actually to be trained? There wasn't, but pretend that there would be. And so these 5 different ways: brain to video, brain to slides, brain to articles, brain observing yourself and writing it down, and brain and videoing yourself. Those are 5 different ways that you can use to capture that information. And then from there, once it's captured, it needs to be refined and made transferable. So I think that's enough for today. But the take home is this: in the age of AI, if you are in a knowledge-driven industry, whether that's architecture, engineering, science, finance, sales, management, all of these things, basically almost the entire professional world, right? Then think about taking advantage of AI in like a smart way, where you pull your unique knowledge out of your brain. You pay more attention to this than you've ever done, probably. And you get that powerful juxtaposition between, putting your knowledge, your unique knowledge, into a much more effective usage. You leverage it more. And then you're able, in a very unique position, to leverage AI tools as well. And that, I think, is a real game changer. So I'm going to do a live Q&A next Wednesday at noon Central Time. I'm going to put the link underneath. And this is just what I said, a live Q&A, questions and answers. And I hope you will join me there. And we're going to talk about the latest research and share some experiences. All right. Thanks for joining me. Ciao.